are listening to Coach's Corner with John Anderson on the CompuSports Radio Network.
Hi, I'm John Anderson, and this week we're going to be talking with an excellent coach from Yardley, Pennsylvania. His name is John Iannucci. We're going to be talking some triple option this week, preventing quarterback indecision, leverage pitching, and the read crack. You can follow along with the conversation from his website, located at 3backoptionfootball.blogspot.com. That's the number 3backoptionfootball.blogspot.com, or just pop it into a search engine, 3back Option Football, and it'll show you right where it is. Triple Option Football with Coach Iannucci, next.
Improve your coaching this season with Easy Scout Professional from CompuSports. Affordable and easy to use, Easy Scout Professional lets you watch game video on your computer as you categorize offense, defense, and special teams plays. Find and review individual plays. Then pause, restart, rewind, and even watch frame by frame for fast and detailed video analysis. Scout your opponent or your own team. Identify tendencies, evaluate players and teams, and mark plays to include in cut-ups and highlights. Print tendency reports and copy cut-ups to CD, DVD, or memory stick and upload to sharing sites like YouTube. Easy Scout Pro is compatible with Windows 7, Vista, and XP and does not require an internet connection. Download the 21-day free trial now and discover how easy and affordable it can be to work with digital video today.
Without you, I can't stand the dawn over. I can't stand the dawn over.
Love your football? Coach's Corner starts now.
Without you.
This segment of Coach's Corner is sponsored by CompuSports, publisher of the Easy Scout Professional, an affordable all-in-one football scouting and editing program. Easy Scout Professional available at CompuSports.com. My guest today is Coach John Iannucci. He has been in coaching for how many years now, Coach? 30-plus years?
33.
33. He resides in Yardley, Pennsylvania, and he's been in a number of different coaching divisions, Division III, Division II, Division I AA, in a number of high schools, and he's written a number of things on a website, and I'll go ahead and give the website so that you can follow along. It's www.3backoptionfootball.blogspot.com, and he has a treasure trove of information up here, and I'm going to try to get Coach Iannucci to expand upon it. Now, to set this up, I'm not a real good option guy. The closest thing that we got to the option was when we ran the run and shoot for 1 year. We had a weak side option going to the single back side, and we ran a little bit of I formation option, and that was about it. So since I don't know a whole lot about it, I found somebody who does. So welcome Coach John Iannucci to the program. Coach, how are you?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm great. I'm ready to go.
All right. Let's go ahead and cover our first topic. And since you have an extensive background, not only in the wing tee, but also in option football, you wrote an article on quarterback indecision. Why did you write that?
Well, I know myself, when I started with the wing tee and I was coaching the wing tee, a lot of the coaching in the wing tee is rote. It's just repetition and muscle memory. However, when you're teaching a quarterback a system where he has to make decisions, any of the quarterback-heavy decision-making offense, could be the triple option, could be throwing the ball, you have to coach altogether different. And as I started off, I know I made a lot of mistakes along the way, and I've given a bunch of clinics and I do a lot of consulting, and I've noticed that that's one of the mistakes that a lot of coaches make, and what happens is their mistakes in coaching it, or my mistakes, the same mistakes I made, lead to quarterback indecision, and we tend to blame the quarterback, but in reality we brought it on ourselves.
Now, as coaches have done, and I've done this too, and I'm just as guilty if anybody else is because of the fact that I may throw more verbiage or maybe a little bit of ambiguous verbiage in there, and I've just confused the quarterback without even realizing it.
Yeah, without a doubt. I love to read articles on how the human mind thinks and how it learns. It's like a side hobby with me all my life as I've coached. And if you read it, you realize that just one word different can put a whole different picture into a young man's brain. And because it's all about perception, there's an old saying, perception is reality. Well, if one coach tells the quarterback, listen, you're going to give the ball to fullback unless the handoff key makes a direct path in front of the fullback. And the other coach, who's maybe the head coach who's not coaching quarterback, says, you're going to give the ball to the fullback unless the handoff key tackles the fullback. They basically, in their mind, are saying the exact same thing, but to the young man, that's two different pictures. And now as he's reading it, he has two different pictures in his mind, and that causes indecision. Do I give? Do I pull? Do I give? Do I pull? Do I go on with the option? The same could be with, throwing the ball, and the same could be with option in the on the pitch phase of the option.
When you're training the quarterback from day one, and you have this young man out there, or you have several young men out there who are playing the quarterback position, do you teach them as a group, or do you teach one at a time as you're working them through the process?
Well, I think it depends on what you're teaching. Our recognition system is all-encompassing. So when I start off and we teach our recognition system, this is the handoff key, how we count number 2, number 3, and how we classify the look so that we can get into the right system, we teach them all the same. When we teach the concepts of our package, we teach it the same. We're going to read the handoff key, we're going to pitch off number 2. We're going to read the handoff key, we're going to pitch off support. However, when we teach them to read and we put the final packages together, now we get into some individualization. And I think this is another mistake that causes indecision with coaches, is that they don't do this. I had a young man, Travis Mucko, when I was at Patterson Eastside. Travis Mucko is the best athlete I've ever been around. There's nobody even close to him. Travis Mucko, when he played quarterback, we reverse taught the read. And what we did was we teach him we're going to pull the ball unless the handoff key makes a direct path out, because we wanted the ball in his hands. Other quarterbacks, we teach it in reverse. We're giving the ball unless because it's a safer read. But in his case, I wanted the ball in his hands. Now, we also designed it a little different. Our tackle split was a lot tighter because we wanted to invite the guy to take the fullback also. That can be carried over in everything, and we do that also in our throwing game and everything else. For example, take a very simple combination like curl flat. A lot of coaches will teach it, you're going to throw opposite the strong safety or opposite the flat coverage. Well, there's two problems with that. First of all, you're not playing to the quarterback's strength because he may not have a strong enough arm to throw the curl when the guy's halfway. Secondly, if the guy doesn't move and just stays halfway between both of them, you haven't given him an answer. So the first thing we're going to do for all the quarterbacks is be definitive. We're going to make our read so that we say, I'm throwing the curl unless the strong safety runs under the curl, or I'm throwing the flat unless the strong safety goes to the flat. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to make the read to his strength. Most of our quarterbacks can throw the curl, so we're going to say we're throwing the curl unless the strong safety runs under the curl. Some of our quarterbacks, though, were pure option quarterbacks who couldn't throw the ball from either his phone. In their case, we're going to say we're throwing the flat unless because it's a much shorter, easier throw. The strong safety runs up and takes the flat. We'll take the shorter game. So in that regard, you individualize the reads. We also individualize the packages, how we get out of certain problems. We had a young man at Langley High School who ran a 5.240 my first year, 5.251, and he was our quarterback. Very good quarterback, executed the option well, but we didn't want the ball in his hands too much. If we got what we called a hard force that we couldn't arc on, we couldn't block number 3. We were reading number 1, pitching off number 2, and we couldn't block number 3. Then what would happen was we would go ahead and throw the 3-step game because he had a great arm. He would check into the 3-step game. We had a kid in Langley 2 years later who was a great runner. kid named Fitzpatrick. Was a great runner. I ended up playing baseball in college. And he wasn't a real good thrower, but exceptionally fast. If we got the same look with him, we went to a loaded option and got him in the alley between the strong safety where he can just take off and go into number 2. So those packages were individualized. However, we had both those things in for both quarterbacks. It's just the way we packaged them.
We're talking with Coach John Iannucci from Yardley, Pennsylvania. He's been in coaching for many, many years, and we're going to be talking a number of different topics with Coach Iannucci when we come back. You're listening to Coach's Corner on the CompuSports Radio Network.
Easy Cut from CompuSports is a fast and enjoyable way to edit and analyze your game videos. Watch entire games on your computer, then label and index plays with a click of a mouse. Copy scenes to CD, DVD, or a memory stick, and upload to online video sharing sites like YouTube. Search and sort plays by keywords. Then pause, restart, rewind, and even watch frame by frame for fast and detailed video analysis. Easy Cut is compatible with XP, Vista, and Windows 7. Download the 21-day free trial now or order on CD and discover how easy it is to start analyzing your game videos today.
This is the CompuSports Radio Network.
This segment of Coach's Corner is sponsored by CompuSports, publisher of the Easy Cut video editing software program. Easy Cut works for any sport and starts at just $195. Easy Cut, the affordable video editing software available at CompuSports.com. Coach John Iannucci is my guest today, and if you want to follow along with the conversation, you can check it out at www.3back, and that's the number 3, backoptionfootball.blogspot.com, and you can follow along with the conversation from Coach Ianucci's website. Coach, there's a few other points that you wanted to make in trying to correct quarterback indecision. I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to you.
Okay, I think one thing that's really important, and I had to learn this when I first started, was when you ask a player to make a decision, that it's a one-way decision. And the analogy that I've always read or gotten from people is you compare it to a baseball hitter. If I'm going up there to hit at the plate, I'm not going up and saying to myself, okay, if it's a strike, I'm hitting it. If it's a ball, I'm not. If it's by my knees, I'm not. If it's up here, I'm not. What you do is you go up with the idea, I'm hitting it unless it's not a strike. So you start your trigger mechanism as if you're hitting it. If you waited to see where it was and then start your trigger mechanism, you never hit it. So the same holds true for making a decision on the football field. So if we're running triple option and we're in the mesh with the fullback, we're telling him we're giving him less. So he has the idea that he's giving. And basically the thought process goes give, or give, pull. So the trigger mechanism starts that he thinks he's giving it. It also does another thing. It gives him an out. When the guy just sits there now, he hasn't made a direct path in front of the fullback, so he's just giving it. We're not making him make a decision. The third thing on this that it does by having one-way decisions is it doesn't stockpile looks. And by that I mean we don't care if it's an up move, the guy crashes the mesh, the guy sits. All we tell him is if the guy makes a direct path in front of the fullback. Okay? By doing that, we go back to what we said before about the mind records the pictures. He only has one picture. Mm-hmm. Okay? Whereas if I say, okay, the guy squeezes your opponent. If the guy runs up the field, you're giving it. If the guy crashes the mesh, you're pulling it. If the guy starts to crash the mesh, then goes up the field, you're giving it. It all comes out the same with with what we say, but he doesn't have to learn a million different reads. He learns one read. And that's the simplicity of it, but it's also the way the mind works. The other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit was don't surprise the quarterback. Have a system that encompasses everything. I see a lot of guys that call me during the week. What do we run against? How do we run the triple against this defense? How do we run the triple against that defense? Well, if your quarterback hasn't done this all year, you're taking away the advantage of running a systematic offense like the triple option, the flex bone, wing T. You're taking that away from him because now you're making it into something that he's going to do for 1 week against a defense that's done it for 1 week. We have a way of practicing every look that he'll get, every read that he'll get in the course of a week. He may not see that read on Saturday, but if they pop up and surprise him, he's seen it, so he's comfortable with it. When you see something that you've never seen before or you haven't seen for 6 weeks, and it surprises you, it causes indecision. You know, if you take a driver like, I taught drivers at it one time, or took the courses, and then they say when you have student drivers who are driving during the day, the first day they're on out at night, there's a lot of indecision because it's a new scenario to them. We're not going to let them get into that. The last thing, and I think this is very important, this is the biggest thing I had to learn because I tend to be a yell and screamer sometime on the field. You can't coach decision-making the way you coach robot. I remember the first time I put the triple option in, and I'm like, what are you doing? That's a give. Well, the very next time that we ran the play, it wasn't a give read to the fullback, but the quarterback gave it because in his mind he had already envisioned giving the ball. You have to coach it through the quarterback's eyes. Why did you give it there? What did you see? Well, let's go back through. What do we talk about? Did he make a direct path in front of the fullback? The same thing on the pitch read. I think you have to do the same thing with quarterbacks who are decision heavy in the passing read. What'd you see? Okay, how come you threw the ball there? You tell me. Because you have to train him to be an extension of you and not a robot. Just can't do it with decision making. There's too many fine gray areas in there. And I think a lot of times coaches, we as coaches, tend to hope that a quarterback decision making. I went to watch a college practice. They were doing the passing game, and I heard the coach yelling at the guy, throw the curl, throw the curl. Well, the very next time the strong safety ran under the curl, I think it was a dig pattern. I actually ran under the dig pattern, and the kid threw it. Now he's all upset that the kid interception. Now they get a lot of indecision. The next time he comes out, well, you just didn't throw. You know, that's how it was a dig pattern. You just told me to give the ball. You coach them. You have to coach them from a new point. You have to coach them from their eyes. And not all quarterbacks are going to read it the same. Ronnie McKay, they said, was the best that ever read it at Army. He read it at 96% or something like that. I forgot what Greg Gregory told me one time. I used to go over and watch him practice when he was there. He was amazing. Ronnie McKay was an exceptional athlete, number one, but number two is he ran triple options since he was in 7th grade. Certain quarterbacks are only going to get up where they read it 80%. That's what we talked about before, about adapting your packages and stuff and getting more into your non-option plays to take them out of it. Certain quarterbacks have problems with certain reads, just like the certain batters can't hit a curveball. Okay, so you tell them stay off the curveball. Well, we have alternate ways of blocking the triple that will take them out of their problems. If a guy has a very hard time reading back-to-back when the handoff can't pitch, keep, hold, crash, we're still going to want him to try to read his way out, but we have a way to get him out of that read and block it a different way where he doesn't have to read the back-to-back. Does two things. One, he'll give reading back-to-back a better try because he knows I have his back. I'll take him away from it. And number two is, you keep running that on a kid, and the kid will turn around and he's going to say, come out, why am I doing this? It's like the analogy I get with the guy who goes over the hill to charge, and the commander says, okay, let's go again, and they just charged 3 times, and he didn't make any progress. The 4th time he says, let's charge over the hill, they're going to be a little indecisive about going over that hill. So we try to do things like that to help along. You got to give him some confidence so that he can make those decisions in the right way. You got to give him a way out. He's got to know you have his back, that you're all in this together. The object's to win the game, not to prove that you know more football than the guy on the other side.
We're talking with Coach John Iannucci from Yardley, Pennsylvania. He's had a number of different quarterbacks, and he's tried a number of different ways to teach quarterbacks, and we're going to be talking more about that when we come back. You're listening to the CompUSports Radio Network.
I'm falling for you. And I'm falling for you.
Coaches helping coaches. We have all heard this is the message behind Jerry Campbell Football. Now, Coach Campbell has upgraded his website to make it easier for you to navigate and find material you need quickly to become a more effective and knowledgeable coach. Jerry Campbell Football has books and DVDs available, whether it be offense, defense, resume preparation, the kicking game, or PowerPoint training. Jerry Campbell Football has what you need to build your knowledge base. Whether from using a traditional approach to cutting-edge technology, you can enhance your knowledge in nearly any area. All this and more at www.jerrycampbellfootball.com. That's www.jerrycampbellfootball.com. Coach Jerry Campbell's latest book, The Hybrid Pistol Wing T, now available at jerrycampbellfootball.com. I've got Coach John Iannucci from Yardley, Pennsylvania, and he's been in football for many, many years, and he's probably seen all those things that I've yet to see.
Lost to it all.
Yeah. So, Coach, I had a specific mindset for my quarterback when I sent them to the line of scrimmage, and I wanted them to be a little ruthless. I wanted them to be an attacking type of guy, and I didn't want them to let up. What is your idea of training a quarterback's posture when you send him into a game? Do you want them to be that attacking, gunslinging personality, or to maybe take a chance here and there, or do you just send them in and just tell them to stay calm and just read the keys and just go with the flow of the game?
Well, we kind of want them to play within the offense, but the way we teach the offense from day one is, listen, if you execute it, if you check properly, it can't be stopped. And we explain that the very first day we talk about the concepts of triple option, and that the defense only has 11, and they're either going to be 5.5 and 5.5, or they're going to be 6 and 5, depending on their alignment. And once they understand that, and they understand how our package works, which is the mechanical part of it, they understand that they'll always be in the right play, and all we have to do is execute it. I've seen too many quarterbacks by just going with the gunslinger and that one attempt and stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. Within the concept of the offense, I love them to make plays. And I'm not talking about the kid who drops back to pass and, everybody's covered and he pulls the ball down and runs. But what I'm talking about is the guy who forces a ball into a small window, who I was watching a college option game, and I gave this example. I actually have an article on there about that. If you watch the first half, the quarterback ran the triple, misread it. The guy came up the field. We teach him just to follow the fullback. Instead, he turned into 360 and he ran about 55 yards for a big play that they later scored on. And if you watch that, you say, gee, he got out of the concept and he made a big play. However, if you watch the fourth quarter when the game was a one-point game and they were driving for the winning touch, I think it was 1 or 2 points, he did the exact same thing and lost 30 yards on the play.
Ouch.
So, I'm not sure if it was 30, it might have been 18 or 20. But what I'm saying is, sometimes we get all enamored with the athletic ability, and we forget the big difference from when I started and now. Now it's kind of, like you're saying, let the guy be a gunslinger, let it go, let the athletic ability win the game. When I started coaching, it was the coach's job to put him into a system to execute so that athletic ability could win the game within that system. I'm still old-fashioned. I'm that way.
Mm.
Quarterbacks, again, this goes back to training a quarterback. We're in the middle of a game. A kid does something that makes a big play. I'm probably not going to be screaming and yelling at him or anything like that. I'm probably just going to bring him to the side and say, if you're going to do that, you better make that play. But after the game, we're going to talk about what he should have done, how he should have done it, and how that also could have hurt us in the long run. I don't want him to play scared, but at the same point, I don't want him to play reckless. I think our offense is such, if you watch Navy or Army or Air Force run a very similar system, that if you stay within the system, you're going to be on time, you're going to be in schedule. That doesn't mean you can't have big plays. You know, if you watch the old Oklahoma teams, they weren't on schedule a lot, but they used to go 65 yards at any given play within the system. Mm-hmm. I remember many times watching Thomas Lauder, J.C. Watts, hitting the alley, running the option, just go 65 yards, or, you know, Thompson or any of those quarterbacks.
Was it Janelle Holloway?
Yeah, Jamal Holloway, all those quarterbacks they had. But they did it within the system. You didn't see them turn around and go 365 degrees back the other way. I think sometimes we get enamored by athletic ability. I think all people do now because they want to level the playing field. It's become such a big thing with all these recruiting services, talent, and TV, and everything else in the media. And, you know, ESPN's, I used that in the article, we've been ESPNized in the sense that all we watch is highlights. So when somebody makes a play, that's an ESPN play. The game is still bigger than the highlight, as far as I'm concerned. So we want the kid to execute within the system.
That was a great answer, Coach, and now we know why you went on to coach for 30 years and why I'm out of football right now.
I didn't say the other way is wrong. You just got to build your system around the other way, too. You better have better athletes than people. I've never been in a place. I've taken over places that have been 0-37 for the last 37. One team lost 48 in a row. Another team went through 5 coaches in a calendar year. One school won 3 games in 5 years and went through 5 coaches. So I don't think I've ever lined up where I matched up athletically with other people. I've had great athletes along the way, don't get me wrong. But I don't think I've ever taken over a program that's come where I've walked in and said, okay, this program's at step R and we got to get it to step Z. I've come in where it's step A and we're trying to get to B. So I think everything I do was based that way. It's been a blessing because it's allowed me to develop systems that level the playing field. Or learn, I should have said develop systems, because I think everything in football is redundant. It comes around, it goes around. And I've had a lot of good people who have taken the time to teach me.
We're talking with Coach John Iannucci from Yardley, Pennsylvania. Coach Ianucci has coached at many levels and a number of different schools. He's had success in many places that he's been, and we've been talking training the option quarterback here on the CompuSports Radio Network. We'll have more. Coach Ianucci back after this.
Love your football? Coach's Corner resumes after this break.
For over a quarter century, CompuSports has provided high-quality, easy-to-use coaching software to high school and college football coaches at prices that do an end-around on limited athletic budgets. Our Easy Scout line of football scouting and video editing software improves the process of collecting, organizing, and analyzing information about the plays in a game, helping coaches save time while gaining a competitive edge. Easy Scout products have always been easy to learn, easy to use, and built to adapt to a football coach's own terminology. The current version of the Easy Scout Professional scouting and video editing system delivers the kind of analysis and reporting capabilities that can cost up to 5 times as much. CompuSports Easy Scout software, because game day is only part of your job.
This segment of Coach's Corner is sponsored by CompuSports, distributor of the Playmaker Pro and Coach's Office Playbook software packages available at CompuSports.com. Coach John Iannucci is my guest today from Yardley, Pennsylvania. We've been talking training the option quarterback. We've been talking quarterback indecision. Well, now let's go to another part of the field, and let's talk about using the wide receiver to kind of take out that free safety, and we're talking take out in a number of different ways. Coach, you've got a technique that you teach called the read crack. How about describing that to us?
Well, the read crack is used in a specific situation. If we're running option football, mostly against an 8-man front, that's running the free safety in the alley. And you usually can see it at any 8-man front teams that Navy, Georgia Tech, or Army or Air Force plays. That's a common way for an 8-man front to get an extra man to the perimeter. And like I mentioned before, option football is nothing more than keep away. If we play keep away and it's me and my friend against you, 2 against 1, it's a fun game for us. But if you have 2 people too, it's not a very interesting game. So the free safety would even the numbers out. They'll have a man for dive, for quarterback, for pitch, and a man to take the split end deep. When we see that in a game, we'll just tell the split end, listen, you're going to re-crack the free safety on all our options. And what he'll do is he'll take an initial pitcher of the corner and the safety. He'll start to push the corner. And while he's pushing the corner, it's imperative that he pushes the corner because just cracking the free, the corner has too much time. The option takes time to get there. He'll push the corner, and he'll eyeball the corner first. As long as the corner's continuing to go back, now he'll eyeball the free. If the free is running the alley, he'll plant and come back at a negative angle back toward the line of scrimmage and crack the free. The corner will react, but because they're running a free safety in the alley, the corner's almost in a man concept, so he has to honor the split end much longer than he would in a traditional 3D concept where you're cracking a strong safety or something like that. So usually when he comes up, it gives the pitch man time to turn his shoulder. So you got a non-tackler in space trying to make a tackle on one of your better athletes. And it usually allows us to get our shoulders upfield and get some good yardage off of it. Against certain teams that have corners who are used to just covering people because they play so many spread teams now, and their free safety is more of a tackler, it ends up as a great play because they usually don't make the tackle. The nice thing about it, once I remember when I was talking to Army about it, when I first learned the option, and Bobby Sutton said to me, he goes, we'll take the free safety, not the corner trying to tackle our pitch man 20 to 30 times a game, because even if he's 90% successful, which is a pretty good football player, we have 3 or 4 touchdowns off of it. Because every time he misses, there's nobody else left out there. So it's a way to handle numbers and keep the numbers on our side, and it's just a technique that we add in the game.
So basically, if I understand this properly, you're taking your split end who may be 10 yards or so outside of the offensive tackle, or maybe the tight end if it's some kind of an overload formation, and you're trying to push the corner off to create a cushion to allow space because it takes the option time to get out there, as we've all seen. And if the safety wants to come down there and stick his nose in there, you're just going to pop him one.
Yeah, exactly right. And, you know, our split normally is 18 yards from the ball, which in high school is hash to hash. We'll cut it in 3 yards when we're going to re-crack it. But we cut it in 3 yards and some other stuff, too, so he really can't tell.
So it's not something that you're tipping by his split?
No, we run pass plays. We also teach the kids, and this goes back to what we're talking about with the quarterbacks, we teach the kids, and they have fun with this stuff. If we treat kids like they're smart, they'll usually act smart. And we'll tell the kid, listen, it's your job also to disguise your splits at times, and what I mean by that is when your play's going away from you, cut your split down 3 yards sometimes. Open it up 3 yards sometimes, because you're not really a factor in the play. And, you know, or maybe sometimes with the pass plays, we'll cut our split in because we're running an out pattern, et cetera, or we're running a crossing pattern where we have to get across the formation. So we'll teach them to be smart, and they have fun with that too, because sometimes they'll say things to me like, Coach, they're yelling this out and that out, and I'm not even doing, they have fun with that. They treat kids like they're smart, and they'll act smart.
So they're using that to create chaos in the defense, and they're enjoying it.
They really do, yeah. They really do. They feel that they contribute to it. Just like in most of our checks, we use code words, and we let the kids come up with the code words at the beginning, and they're pretty bright with it, and they enjoy it. And our quarterback, because we're so redundant in our code words, we tell them to put words that don't mean anything in there. And, for example, we use colors when our halfback seal in inside rather than arcing, and we used to use the color green. So he'd come up and say, green apples. Okay, one time. Next time he'd come up and say, green automobile. The next time he might come up and say, looks green, or something like that. I don't know, but he would say something, or tree green, or whatever. And they have fun with that stuff, to the point that I remember one time I was at Langley, and the quarterback, I tell you, great speeder, went to the Ivy League. We used to call our bubble screens by presidents. They could use any president's name. And he would always come up, and we used to call our double options by cities, and he would always come up with the redundancies, like, Washington, coach, which one is it? You tell me. Or,
that's an interesting question.
At the time, and he was a staunch Democrat, and at the time Bush was the president. He refused to use Bush because he said, I don't recognize the president. But kids have fun with that. You got to have fun feel too. But the thing is, you laugh at it, but the thing is, when they do things like that, you realize that they got it.
Yeah.
So, it's a good way to do things. Or the meetings get unique with some of that stuff.
I imagine that you probably had some interesting sideline conversations, too.
Oh, yeah, with a lot of them we did, yeah. Definitely with a lot of them that we did, I one time had a fullback, we talked about the given lesson. One time I had a fullback come over, and he was, like, groggy and stuff, and he got gonged on him, but the quarterback had given it. He came over, and he's standing next to me with the trainer. He turns around and says, Coach, when you tell him give him less, and I said, yeah, because I think that would be in less.
We're talking with Coach John Iannucci of Yardley, Pennsylvania, and Coach Iannucci has been giving us a lot of great information on training the option quarterback, and we just had a great conversation on the wide receiver read crack, and who knows what's going to happen when we come back here on Coach's Corner on the CompuSports Radio Network.
You are listening to Coach's Corner with John Anderson on the CompuSports Radio Network.
If you are interested in becoming a sponsor on Coach's Corner on the CompuSports Radio Network, and you'd like to place your commercial right here on this program, just email me, John, John, at CompuSportsRadio.com. That's John, John, at CompuSportsRadio.com. So for the next 30 seconds or so, let's enjoy some of Hawaii's Paul Hanna.
My car won't stop, but I'ma throw my troubles away. We got to love to live. We got to love to give. Got to love to live. Love to give. Take it.
If you're interested in being a guest on the program, simply email us at john@CompuSportsRadio.com. That's John at CompuSportsRadio.com.
Rain's finished to clean and the sunset's gonna taste good.
My guest is Coach John Iannucci from Yardley, Pennsylvania, and he's been around the block a few times, so he's seen a number of things come and go here. And, Coach, you had written an article in December of 2008, and this goes back a little ways. It's up there on your blogspot.com website, at 3backoptionfootball.blogspot.com. And you wrote this on leverage pitching. First of all, describe to us what leverage pitching is, and secondly, how you would use that.
Okay, leverage pitching actually is a term that when I first started getting into coaching, the concept that we now call leverage pitching was everybody said was your quarterback was wrong. It has suddenly come into vogue, and there's reasons why it's come into vogue. Football, no matter in what era, the majority of your big plays are on the perimeter, either down the field if you're throwing the ball, or on the outside if you're running the ball. That's where you get the majority of big plays. So you want the ball out there. Leverage pitching is the ability to pitch off your pitch key, regardless of what option you're running, without actually getting to your pitch key for a number of reasons. And the reasons are the following. If I'm going to my pitch key and I'm not to my pitch key yet, but my pitch man has outflanked him to the point that he cannot get to the pitch. And you only could use this in an option game that has motion involved, like the flex phone that we run, because the pitchman can get so far out in front of the quarterback on that he can outflank the pitch gate. We'll allow him to go ahead and pitch the ball. Let's say we're facing a stack defense, like, you know, a 4-3, let's say, for example, where a handoff key and a pitch key are stacked behind one another, and we read the handoff key and the pitch key wants to get a little bit nosy, and doesn't really come in to take the dive. It's not like an exchange stuff, but he just kind of sits there. The quarterback could just pitch it because he's flat-footed now, and he's in a position that he can't get to the pitch key. Basically, if you're going to teach the quarterback to leverage pitch, you don't teach him he has to go to the pitch key. We teach him his assignment is the pitch key, just like a blocker has an assignment. Well, his job is to account for the pitch key. If the pitch key doesn't make the tackle on the pitch man, he has done his job. I remember one time we played a team, and we had about, I guess it's 360 yards rushing in high school, which is a pretty good day. And it was a team that the guy taught his kids to just sit there and wait for the quarterback to come to them. Well, we were pitching the ball and pitching the ball and pitching the ball, and after the game, the guy said, you know, you're lucky you got great athletes because of the fact that I never got to our pitch key. Was it hit once? Well, I don't want my quarterback hit if at all possible. I've never had a quarterback, knock on wood, hurt in a game running the option. Now, I've had him hurt throwing the ball, but never hurt running the option. Also, again, takes away a little indecision, okay, from the guys. It's more of an advanced way of pitching the football. You see a lot of it with Georgia Tech now. You see a lot of it with Navy. You see a lot of it with Army. In the old days, you used to run to the pitch keys inside shoulder. If he came and took you, you pitched it. Usually you got hit. Nowadays, you know, we want the ball on the perimeter. We want it out there. We have better athletes. Plus, the motion allows us. We pitch the ball. Our pitch read is 6 yards wide, a pitch man, and we're only 1 yard deep. We almost pitch the ball flat down the line. So if you're going to try to string us out and our guy outflanks you, you're going to have a hard time getting to him. The other thing that come with leverage pitching comes in is off the back-to-back studs where the pitch key crashes the mesh. First of all, in order to leverage pitch, you have to have some sort of spatial focus. We never teach fine focus or running the option. I know there are coaches out there that teach it. I've talked to a couple high school coaches who read the stripe of the helmet or the inside number or whatever. We just teach him basically if the guy makes a pass directly in front of the fullback. We don't care what part of him he does. But that also allows you to have spatial focus. If you line up in back-to-back with handoff key and pitch key next to each other, our guy can see both of them. And if he sees the flash of the outside guy, he'll just pull off the mesh and pitch the football. The same thing in stack. He can see both of them. So if he sees one guy come inside, we just come off the mesh and pitch the football because we know the other guy's not going to pitch in the stack where he's going to quarterback because it's not quarterback stunts. So this allows us to get more big plays on the perimeter, get bigger plays on the perimeter, I should say. And it also allows us to save our quarterbacks up.
You had said in relationship to your leverage pitching, especially when they're stacking or maybe they're slanting real hard and maybe they're both very close together there. If they're flashing in front of your fullback and you're just pulling the ball out from the fake, if I understand this right, your pitch man is already outside of that man and he could just pitch it and he doesn't have to worry about getting hit.
Exactly right. And we had talked some about trade for quarterbacks. And I read something a long time ago about teaching people muscle memory and game decisions, and it wasn't even about football, but I remembered and applied it. That if you're going to teach muscle memory and you're going to teach decisions, you have to teach them in two different aspects. So we have a segment where we just work the mesh with the fullback with no reads there, and he works on the techniques of the mesh. We also work on him as if the guy came back into him, stepping backwards off the mesh. He'll actually step away from the mesh backwards when he pitches the ball against a crash stunt so that the guy doesn't hit him. We don't want the guy hit him. And like you said, we'll just pitch the ball and we're on the perimeter that way. Again, we also want to protect, and this goes back to what we talked about before about indecision. If you don't practice that, number one, and number two is if you don't give a way for a quarterback to protect himself and he gets hit once in the jaw, and I've seen guys teach this, and they'll teach it, come off the mesh, and if the guy's coming hard, then sit down and pitch. And they'll teach them to read the stripe and helmet and then go to the pitch key. By that time, it's too late. You hit him once under the chin, and the next 4 pitches are going up in the air, or he's giving the ball off, or he's, even though it's not a give, he's doing something wrong because you've created indecision in his mind. Nobody likes to get hit. Okay, but if you could give him that, I mean, we played Madison High School in 2002, and their quarterback insisted their coach insisted, he told me, you won't have a quarterback left at the end of our game. He told me that in the offseason. He never once touched the quarterback until the fourth quarter, and in that time it was because the kid was so frustrated, he hit the kid late, they threw their kid out of the game. So if you teach him right, our quarterback was laughing at the whole game because the kid kept trying to go to him, and their coach was yelling, hit him, will you? And he can't get to him. And if you teach a kid right, they enjoy they almost invite those situations that other people think are hard. Now, don't get me wrong. I've had quarterbacks who have trouble with that back-to-back read, and again, we'll have a way to block number 2 in that case, or block number 1, the handoff key, so now we turn it into a double option, and he only has 1 read. He doesn't have to read both of them. To take that away, again, that's another way to take the indecision away from him and give him some confidence. The big thing in what we teach is, first of all, that we have a universal system that covers everything. Secondly, that we can practice it as a system. And the third thing is that we give the kids a way out. We can adapt our system to the talent without changing our system.
We're talking with Coach John Iannucci from Yardley, Pennsylvania, and we've had a great conversation here covering a number of topics here so far. We'll have more with Coach Iannucci when we come back here on the CompuSports Radio Network.
What can Coach Joseph Lee Jr.'s unique book, The Blueprint for the Ultimate Defensive Back, do for your team?
Developed for strengthening the integrity of a team, Coach Lee's new football key system is a powerful, revolutionary approach to coaching. Coach Lee's new football key system evens out the competitive playing field. Within the first 72 hours of teaching the system, players will learn a new dynamic playing style. This will enable the team to reach the same level of strategic excellence as their top-tier competitors. The turnaround on the field will be evident in the first game. Within the standard training period of 3 weeks, players and coaches will be able to work as a single functioning unit. There will be no matchup problems on the field, no first and second string differences, and no coverage problems.
You can buy Coach Lee's unique book, The Blueprint for the Ultimate Defensive Back, at www.techniquecoach.com. That's www.techniquecoach.com.
You're listening to Coach's Corner with John Anderson on the CompuSports Radio Network.
My guest is Coach John Iannucci from Yardley, Pennsylvania, which is just outside of Philadelphia, and we've been talking Italian food and having a great time here. When I come up there, and I'll be up there at some point, we're going to have to find a good Italian place and just chow down.
There's plenty of them up here. We'd have to do that for a week.
Coach, you were saying you thought that there were a number of reasons concerning triple option football. Some teams are doing it well, some teams aren't doing it well. Give us your insights on that.
Well, I think over the years I've done maybe about 100 or more one-on-one consulting sessions, and most of them with schools who want to put the triple in. And usually what I find is there's a number of reasons why certain ones are successful and other ones aren't. The first thing is the ones who are successful commit to the option. It takes a lot of time in practice. You know, there's an article out that Paul Johnson says you have to use 50-60% of your time in practice. I don't know if it's exactly 50-60. It might be 65-70. I heard that once from Oklahoma. But it's a big time of practice. And with the commitment also goes that everybody's on board with it. You know, I've been in places, I've taken over places where I say we're going to run triple option, and 3 of the coaches that I had to take from the previous staff will say, oh, we don't really want to run that, even though they weren't too successful running the other stuff. But it's not the flavor of the month for everybody, and because of that, it's tough to get people on board. We got to get the parents on board and everybody else. Number 2, I think people don't take time to study the basic concepts of triple option philosophy. It's a numbers game, and you have to study the numbers game to understand what you're trying to do. People just like it as a play, and then they end up running into what we call six-man sides, and they're outnumbered. And they might not be six-man sides by alignment. They might be six-man sides after the snap. The third reason I believe is, and this is probably the biggest, everybody wants a miracle play. There is no such thing. I went to one, and it was in Florida, and they paid me rather handsomely to come in. And I came in, and I started off by teaching them the philosophy, and they looked kind of bored with that. And then I went and taught them the base system, and they looked kind of bored with that. And then they said, okay, well, give us a couple more plays. And I started doing the practice, how we teach it, the teaching progression, how everything ties together in the way we practice. And they were like, no, give us a couple more plays. We can figure that part out. Well, they were the least successful. If you're going to run something that's systematic and that's unique, like the triple option, the way you practice it is systematic also, and it's very unique. And if you don't do that, what happens is you're not going to have success. I think also with it is that there's a learning curve to everything. And I think what happens with a lot of coaches is they go to put something in. I talked to one recently who had been in 3 offenses in 3 years. Well, in 1 year, no coach is going to, just like the players aren't going to get good in a day at it, you're not going to get good in a year at it. You know, we expand and contract, and we've added things over the years, but we've added peripheral stuff that we've got good at. The way I learned the triple was it was peripheral play for the wing team. We slowly phased it to it, so I gave myself a chance to learn it. I was talking to a good friend of mine, Tony DeMayo, and he came up with a concept that really made sense, and he said he actually got it off some cognitive theory stuff that he was reading that, you know, the first year you do anything, it's totally rote. You stand out there and you say, okay, he's supposed to be running to the outside leg of the tackle. That's the way you correct it also. So you're going to miss a lot of corrections, and you're not worried about the big picture. The second year, you're comfortable with the rote part, and now you're doing the application part of applying where things go. And the third year, you get into the big picture, where you understand the big picture and can see the rote and the application part while you're looking at the big picture. And it made a lot of sense to me. And I don't think coaches give themselves a chance. And finally, the last thing, and you're running triple option football. There's a lot to learn. And if you teach it the right way, whole part whole, the kids are going to make a lot of mistakes the first week. And I've had coaches call me up after 2 weeks and say, we're canning it, what's awful? I've been running this now for 17 years. And after the first 2 weeks, it doesn't look pretty good. But the nice thing about it, because it's a system and everything's in the first week, it gets better and better and better. It's a repetition offense. But coaches abandon it too fast. So first thing is they have to know the system, what triple option is based on. Second thing is they have to know how to practice it and teach it. Okay? And they have to be committed to it. That was actually the first. And the last one is that they have to realize that it takes time to perfect. And people don't want to do that. I mean, you talk to a lot of coaches, and I'm sure you talk to coaches other than the ones you talk to on the radio, and how many coaches, you know, change offenses to the flavor of the week. You know, they look on TV, well, that's the spread now. Everybody's in the spread. Everybody asks me why I don't go to a spread. And I'm enamored with it. I really am. But I love what I do, and I don't see a reason to go to it. I once sat down at a clinic. Paul Johnson had a bunch of people in a room, and somebody said, "You're going to add some shotgun stuff?" And he says, "No." And they asked why, and he said, "It's good, but I don't need it right now. If I needed an answer, I have my answers. If I need an answer, I'll add it." And I think the problem is too many people go away from things. One other thing on that, too, is, and this is from an old-timer speaking, because when I started, the high school and college hashes were the same. So when you learn something from college, it was exactly the same as it is in high school. And it was just instant, put it in, do it, worked out well. The high school game is much different than the college game now because of the hashes. The field dimensions are different. You only have 18 yards into the boundary. I remember in the 1980s here in Barry Wichita, 1980 or early 1990s, that you needed 6 more yards in the boundary to really run the option well to get the back to turn up. If you did have those 6 more yards back then, they used to just run the ride play and loaded option and try to get the quarterback around everybody and just let him outrun people because the pitch didn't have a lot of room. Well, nowadays everybody doesn't use a tight end in the option in college, so people in high school don't use it. The problem is you only have 18 yards into the boundary still. So you have to have a little bit of a history of the game to go back and say, okay, what are the answers for those 18 yards? You know, I've seen people get stopped because in high school, people will just take away the field against the triple option teams. They make them run into the boundary all day long. People say, well, that's fine, you know, we'll go into the boundary. But they have the sixth defender there in high school. You can run options, but you have to run very specific options. You just can't take what college does. You have to have a little bit of history on your side. So I think those are the reasons why I see high schools, you know, well, schools that I've talked to, the ones that are successful and the ones that aren't. Some have done a great job. You know, I've gone down and given clinics to, and they've gone back and won state titles. Some haven't. Some have come back and canned it, like I said, in the second week. So I think that answers your question, and I think that's good things to point out.
Coach, it's been great to have you on the program here, and right now I'm going to invite you back on here in a future day. And we'll work it out. Well, we're going to set this up. We got to get you back on here.
Sounds great. And can we do it in an Italian restaurant?
Hey, we'll take it wherever you want to take it. We'll take the show on the road. We'll bring the world's worst radio show host up there to Pennsylvania, and we'll do it right.
I have my good friend of mine who has his own radio show at Division II college, and he has it in the local restaurant. And he said the only thing bad is it's at the restaurant's in the middle of no place, and food is awful. And I said, I won't say the name, but you can't say it. You know? As I know, he said, you know.
Oh, that's wrong.
You know what? Hey, he never said. Nobody ever knew. He's moved on since then. Nobody ever knew. You know, life went on.
Oh, goodness. Coach, once again, thank you for coming on the show.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much for having me. I look forward to being on again. Do a great job.
Thank you, sir. For the rest of you, some final thoughts after this.
I want to thank Coach Iannucci for coming on to the program, and yes, I am going to take him up on that offer to go up there to Pennsylvania and just absolutely pig out. His website is 3backoptionfootball.blogspot.com. Make sure you go up there and check that out. He has a lot of great articles up there on the triple option.
Next week on Coach's Corner.
Next week, Coach Jerry Campbell and I have some fun talking about the origins of the game as well as rule changes coming down the line and those that have helped to shape the game to what it is today. Coach's Corner is an Abundant Harvest production on the CompuSports Radio Network. I'm John Anderson, and we'll talk to you next time.